Those voting aye, 32, nay, 17. The bill, having received the constitutional majority, is declared to have passed the Senate and the title was agreed to. The chair recognizes the senator from Polk, Senator Whitford.
Those were protesters in the Iowa Senate chamber late last night voicing their disapproval a few moments after lawmakers passed a 6-week abortion ban in a marathon 14-hour special session. The bill includes exceptions for the health of the woman and for certain pregnancies resulting from rape or incest. Today, groups including local chapters of the ACLU and Planned Parenthood filed a lawsuit to temporarily block that ban as the courts determine whether it is constitutional. Even still, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds plans to sign this newly passed bill into law on Friday afternoon. This Republican governor does not want to sign her 6-week abortion ban behind closed doors in the dead of night, like, for example, Governor Ron DeSantis, who announced he had signed his ban in April shortly before midnight and with no media in the room. Instead, Governor Reynolds wants to sign it here at the very public Family Leadership Summit. And because her state is the first nominating contest in the Republican presidential cycle, the governor will have quite an audience. 6 Republican candidates are slated to be there, excluding, notably, I'll add, former President Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence, Tim Scott, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, and Asa Hutchinson have all signed up to attend this Family Life Summit. And whether they like it or not, 3 of those candidates will take the stage in the afternoon session, which now features the signing of a 6-week abortion ban as its opening act. Joining us now is Claire McCaskill, former Democratic senator from Missouri. Claire, thank you so much for joining me, and I would love for you to weigh in on the absolute awkwardness of Governor DeSantis and Nikki Haley now having to share the same zip code with a 6-week abortion ban.
Well, it's interesting. DeSantis is running for president, so he wanted to hide the fact that he signed this bill. I'm not sure what the governor of Iowa thinks she's accomplishing by this, but it certainly isn't speaking to most of America or even most of Iowa, Alex. 61% of Iowans. This was a poll by the Des Moines Register, which is nationally recognized as a very accurate pollster. And just recently, they polled, and 61% of Iowans said they wanted abortions to be legal most of the time, safe and legal. 70% of Iowa women say they want abortions to be safe and legal in most instances. Only some 30% said they wanted it to be illegal in all circumstances. So she's not representing her state. She is playing to the far right crowd that has a firm grip on the Republican Party right now. And it is that part of the party that these 6 presidential candidates are going to be catering to on Friday afternoon.
But it's almost like she didn't get the memo that you're supposed to sign the 6-week abortion ban behind closed doors at midnight. You know, like the reality that this is just absolutely abysmal politics on the national stage. If you get out of the mud fight that is the Republican primary, the polling on this isn't even a question. And therefore, Republicans are making, I think, a craven calculation that they can do all of these things behind closed doors in primary season, and that the public is somehow going to forget about them when it comes to the general. And I wonder, you know, Claire, put on your pessimistic hat or your disillusioned hat, if you would, for a minute. And do you think there's any truth to that? Do you think you can get away with something like what Ron DeSantis is doing, which is sign it behind closed doors, sort of pretend like it didn't happen, and then hope that placates the base enough to get you through the primary, and then never speak of it again once you're the general election candidate?
Well, first of all, I don't think that's going to work in this instance because women. This feels personal to women. The Supreme Court has taken away a right that women have counted on for 50 years. Women do not want the government telling them what to do with their own bodies and in their relationships with their families, with their own faith. The government doesn't have a primary role in that instance. And women aren't going to forget this. I remember being on Meet the Press after the Dobbs decision, and I remember the Republican panelist touted a poll that said, well, you know, everyone's talking about this abortion decision, but people really aren't paying attention to it. It won't matter in the midterms. And I remember Yamiche Alcindor and I looking at each other across the table going, he's wrong. He doesn't understand that women care about this. They understand it. And women understand that many times you don't even know you're pregnant at 6 weeks. It is just the same as the Missouri law, which makes it illegal to have abortion in all instances from the moment of conception.
You know, I think it's notable that Donald Trump, who's so far sort of the only person who's raised a red flag around the abortion issue being maybe possibly terrible for Republicans in an election, is not going to be at this summit. Ron DeSantis is the unlucky guy, again, along with Nikki Haley, who gets to be in the afternoon session when this is signed, which, coupled with his general strategy on abortion and bodily autonomy, gives rise to the latest reporting on Ron DeSantis that I'd love to get your thoughts on, Claire, which is that even Rupert Murdoch now has his doubts about Ron DeSantis. Mr. Murdoch, this is reported in the New York Times, has privately told people that he would like to see Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia enter the race. I get why this DeSantis campaign is not ringing true for a lot of Republicans, including Rupert Murdoch. But the question is, do you think it's just delusional for them to believe that anybody but Trump is going to be the nominee, or do you think there's still is the garage door not yet down on that?
Well, I think this is really one of the big problems they have. They all know that if they can beat Trump in Iowa, that it shakes the premise that he is unbeatable. And in Iowa, the vast majority of the Republican voters that participate in their caucuses are white evangelical voters that are in line with the 6-week abortion ban. So now this has become a litmus test for all those candidates whose only hope of getting a win in the primary is to win in Iowa. And that's why it's interesting that Trump's not showing up. Trump had a hard time there. He didn't win in 2016 and frankly had to run around the state with Jerry Falwell to try to drum up conservative evangelical support, even in 2020, to try to do better than he had in the past. So I think it's one of those things that they are hoping this issue will sink Trump in Iowa and then they'll have a chance. But the irony is they're going to sink all of them because women aren't going to forget this. Women aren't going to forget, Alex.
And the governor's going to make sure of that as well. The great Claire McCaskill, thank you for your time tonight, Claire. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex.